on the development of Nagaland State Curriculum Framework organized by SCERT Nagaland. I truly make this seminar fruitful and productive. To begin with today's program, the time is now given to the Director, SCERT, Madam Chumchanbeni Kikon, for the keynote address.
Chief Secretary of the State, Sir J. Alam, Ma'am Cavallino, Commissioner and Secretary, the eminent scholars, the esteemed stakeholders, distinguished participants from various associations, organizations, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for sparing your valuable time today. The Government of India announced the National Education Policy 2020 as approved by the Union Cabinet of India on 29 July 2020. The purpose of the policy is to develop good human beings capable of rational thought and action, possessing compassion and empathy, courage and resilience, scientific timbre, and creative imagination with sound ethical morals and values. The policy aims at producing engaged, productive, contributing citizens for building an equitable, inclusive, and plural society. The policy envisions an education system rooted in Indian ethos that contributes directly to transforming into an equitable and vibrant knowledge society and thereby making India a global knowledge superpower. The vision of the policy is to instill among the learners a deep-rooted pride in being Indian, not only in thought, but also in spirit, intellect, and deeds, as well as to develop knowledge, skills, values, and dispositions that support responsible commitment to human rights, sustainable development and living, and global well-being, thereby reflecting a truly global citizen. The National Policy 2020 is a national commitment to the people of India. The policy was framed while recognizing the need for skilled workforce, the need for new skilled labor in the quickly changing employment landscape and global ecosystem. This policy aims to make education more experiential, holistic, integrated, inquiry-driven, discovery-oriented, learner-centered, discussion-based, flexible, and enjoyable. The NEP 2020 envisaged that Indian education curriculum include basic arts, crafts, humanities, games, sports, fitness, languages, literature, culture, and values, in addition to science and mathematics, so as to develop all aspects and capabilities of learners. It has been recommended that NCERT develop the 4 national curriculum in the context of National Policy 2020. This strategy adopted by the NCERT and the Ministry of Education Government of India to frame the national curriculum NCF by incorporating and integrating the local and indigenous flavors from across the country through wider consultations. In this context, SCERT in the country are entrusted as state nodal agency for development of the state curriculum framework. The SCERTs have been directed to set up 25 state focus groups to work on 25 curricular areas identified for focus group position papers. Accordingly, 25 state focus groups were constituted last year, and each group were tasked to work on the subject areas assigned. The Nagaland State Focus Group for 25 subject areas worked tirelessly to bring out a draft STET curriculum framework guided by the visions and principles of the NEP 2020 to integrate and infuse traditional knowledge, cultural values, indigenous education in all the subject areas of the STET curriculum framework. The draft was prepared keeping in view the difficulties faced in the present system of education and looking at the challenges ahead of us in the years to come. A bottom-up and inductive approach to curriculum development was adopted as a major academic strategy for the present curriculum development, where curriculum is developed from local specific relevance to general. The draft position papers on the 25 subjects have suggested many changes in the content areas and approaches. The inclusion of indigenous traditional knowledge in the curriculum of both school education and higher education is an extremely relevant component in the policy document of NEP 2020. As envisaged in the National Policy 2020, the foundational stage onwards, it is to redesign all curriculum and pedagogy to be strongly rooted in India and local context, customs, language, philosophy, geography, ancient and contemporary knowledge, societal and scientific needs, etc. So efforts have been made to integrate and infuse our traditional and cultural practices, values and indigenous ways of learning in the form of folklore, with songs, poetry, indigenous games, toys, cultural values, indigenous skills of dealing with emotions for school counselors, traditional art, music, and also attempts to revisit the Naga Muro. A redefined system of learning among the Nagas through a unique method of experiential learning, greatly influenced by deeply rooted in Naga ethos of pragmatism. The new education policy is a big step in the direction of achieving the resolve of making our country, our state, a knowledgeable economy. And this is our collective responsibility that NEP 2020 is implemented effectively. It is hoped that this one-day STET level seminar on STET curriculum framework will generate a lot of healthy interactions on issues related to the STET curriculum frame drafted by the various STET focus groups. This will pave the way for the fulfillment of new hopes and inspiration in education. With this, I wish the seminar a great success. I play because I love the game. I work hard because I love winning. This is the word of the famous Michael Jordan. With this note, I thank you all.
Vileno Angami, Commissioner and Secretary, Department of School Education and SCERT, to deliver her speech.
Respected Chief Secretary of Nagaland, my colleagues on the dais, school heads, stakeholders, subject experts from various organizations, from Nagaland University, from educational institutions. First of all, I would like to thank God for giving us this time where we can all gather together and deliberate on the SCF. I would also like to take this time to express our gratitude to our Chief Secretary for his presence here this morning. Sir, you have been a mentor, and your presence here is an encouragement for all of us. I would also like to thank all the stakeholders, the participants, all those who have given their inputs towards developing the thematic papers, members of the focus group, and members of the SCF, all those who have given their inputs. Your inputs are critical because they will form the basis on which our children will be studying, our children would be the SCERT would be developing the textbooks for our children to be studying in the schools in the future. So your critical inputs, your contribution are crucial. And I want to thank all of you for your contribution. Yesterday, NBSC had organized a seminar on the curricular engagement in schools vis-a-vis the multidisciplinary approach of the NEP. Today, we have this discussion on the SCF organized by the...
First of all, I would like to thank the SCERT for inviting me over for this program. Education is a subject that touches every one of us, and all of us have strong views on what is the state of our education and how it should be improved. There are maybe things which we are not satisfied about. There may be many weaknesses in the system, but it is also true that a lot of good work is also happening in our state as well as at the level of the entire country. We are all aware that Nagaland education policy, National Education Policy 2020 was framed after a long gap, almost 34 years. Our last policy was in 1986. And after the policy of 1986, the program of action to implement that policy came in 1992. So after announcement of the policy, we actually came up with a program of action after 6 years. But this time, the National Education Policy 2020 was announced in 2020. It was finalized after a very, very exhaustive process of consultation, deliberations, discussions from the grassroots as well as with experts, not only at the national level but at the international level. And that has given us a new policy. I'm sure you must have read it. As can be seen from the policy, it is actually a paradigm shift in our education system. Some of the features of the policy have been highlighted by Ms. Cavillano. I understand yesterday also there was some program, another seminar on another aspect. But the key point is that immediately after announcement of the policy, everyone associated with education has gone into high gear. The central government, state government, and all the agencies, organizations involved in education have gone into high gear. After the policy was announced, there has been a series of deliberations, discussions. Even during the peak of COVID period, these consultations were going on as to how we translate the policy into action. A lot of work has been done even at the school level education as well as higher education. And in the Ministry of Education, we have two departments, the Department of Higher Education and the Department of School Education. And both the departments have led from the front. And even in our state, the Higher Education Department, Technical Education Department, School Education Department, SCERT, everyone has been working hard towards translating the policy into action. And the policy also has given milestones. Certain things have to be done at certain milestones. So everyone is trying to achieve those milestones within the deadlines. And I am happy to say that our state, our officers, and all those people who are involved in taking follow-up action, they have been working very hard. I keep getting feedback not only from the officers in the state, but also even from the central government. These consultations again have given rise to various other follow-up things, and this seminar also is one of the follow-up actions. The key thing particularly about school education, the key challenge that we have is how do we transact knowledge? This transaction between the teacher and the student takes place in the classroom. How best can it be done? The knowledge that needs to be imparted to the student, how it can be taught to him, her, so that knowledge is transferred and the child learns. This has impact on the learning outcomes. And we all know in many places we are not happy with the learning outcomes. The learning outcomes sometimes get reflected in your examinations. Sometimes they get reflected in the internal assessments that you do, and sometimes they get reflected in the surveys that you do. So all these things are going on. You have the National Achievement Survey, the SCERT reports, you have your own exams at various levels, and you have the internal assessments by the teachers, which is a continuous exercise. In the past, everything was being guided by a national curriculum framework. This also was an old document, but National Curriculum Framework was designed to bring about some kind of uniformity in our curricula across the country. But I am told that this time the approach is completely different. It is actually a bottoms-up approach where the subject matter experts are joining together, they are writing position papers on the basis of which a state curriculum framework is to be designed. And this state curriculum framework will again get dovetailed with the national curriculum framework, and a national curriculum framework will be developed by the Government of India. So the issue that we face today is, through these exercises, how do we improve our education system in the light of the national education policy objectives, and through designing all these new frameworks, new systems, and new ways of imparting knowledge. The biggest challenge before us is access to education. The education policy also talks about it, particularly the access of the disadvantaged sections of the society. We are all aware that we have, first generation learners, people from very poor economic backgrounds. There are children from families where the girl child is not sent to the school and a boy is actually preferred to be sent to school. If the girl is the eldest in the family, she has to take care of the younger siblings, and in the process she sacrifices her education. So all these people, they need to be brought to school. It is a major challenge because as we increase access, first, getting all the students into education system, the first maybe 80-90% is very easy. But the last mile, that 5-10% students which are actually left out, they are the most difficult to reach out, and you need increasingly more and more effort to bring them into the education system. So this aspect also will have to be taken care of. Then there are issues with our quality. I remember this year, after 2 years of COVID, in the 10th exam, our results in school were less than our expectations. So there was an outcry from the people. But that points to an underlying problem in our system which needs to be fixed. And I am hopeful that all these aspects will be taken care of when our curriculum framework is designed, so that the learning outcomes improve. Otherwise, we will continue to have this problem where our children are not passing the exams. So, I'll not speak much about the technicalities of this state curriculum framework. I am not an expert in this field. I think most of the points have already been covered by my predecessors. But one thing I know, that developing a curriculum framework is a very, very tedious and meticulous exercise. It requires a lot of diligence, lot of hard work. And all those experts who are involved in developing position papers, for example, they work really hard because it is a very, very scholarly exercise and it cannot be done by everyone. Only the experts can do it. And I am happy that within a short time, 25 position papers have already been completed. So congratulations to all those people who are involved with this exercise, who have written these position papers. I am also happy that this kind of seminar is being organized, which actually gives us an opportunity to consult, deliberate on issues, and come to a common ground on various points. So that's about all. My best wishes to all of you for developing a very comprehensive state curriculum framework which will make a real contribution in improving the learning outcomes for our schools, in improving the quality of education, in making our children better citizens, in imparting the right values in them, and in imparting the right knowledge to them. These are perhaps the broad objectives on which the state curriculum will be based. The school education or the higher education. For both of them, actually, the national education policy is the guide, and under that, when the state curriculum framework is designed, I am sure it will fulfill our requirements, and it will be of very high quality. So with these very few words, I once again congratulate the SCERT for organizing this seminar, and I also congratulate all the participants for attending this very important program and also participating in developing the state curriculum framework. So thank you very much, and this is only the inaugural session. You will be having, I think, the technical sessions after this, which will be a more scholarly exercise, I think. So all the very best to you, and my best wishes to all of you for a very, very fruitful and intensive deliberation on this very important subject. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for those insightful words.